The night was clear in Oakville, Nebraska. Stars filled the sky like tiny diamonds on black velvet. 10-year-old Lily Morgan stood in her backyard, looking through her father's telescope. Her blonde hair was tied in a simple ponytail, and her blue eyes were wide with wonder. "Dad, come look at this," she called out. Jack Morgan stepped outside, coffee mug in hand. He was tall with strong arms from years of farm work. His wife Karen followed him, her face kind and curious. "What did you find, sweetie?" Jack asked. Lily pointed up. "There's something weird up there. It's moving funny." Jack bent down and looked through the telescope. He saw it too, a shiny object that didn't move like a plane or satellite. It seemed to stop and change direction. "Karen, take a look," he said, his voice serious. As the Morgan family watched the strange object, they didn't know that all across the world, powerful radar systems were tracking the same thing. In a military base far away, a man named Victor Hayes was getting urgent phone calls. Admiral Hayes had gray hair and a face that showed years of tough decisions. 25 years in the Navy had prepared him for many things, but not for this. "Sir, we have confirmation," said a young officer. "The object is not from Earth. It's slowing down in our atmosphere." Hayes nodded slowly. "Call the president. Tell all bases to go to alert level 3. No aggressive moves." For years, the world's governments had prepared secret plans for this day. They had built special communication systems and trained teams of scientists and soldiers. But no plan could fully prepare them for the reality of visitors from another world. The alien ship was enormous. It looked like polished metal with strange blue lights running along its sides. As it moved closer to Earth, smaller ships left its sides and headed toward different continents. One of these ships was heading toward the middle of the United States. In space, aboard the main ship, Commander Zarvek stood tall and proud. His skin was pale blue, and he had 4 eyes set in a wide face. Gold symbols on his uniform showed his high rank in the Craxian Empire. "Report," he ordered. A lower-ranking officer bowed slightly. "The planet has primitive technology, Commander. They call it Earth. They have nuclear weapons but no space defense systems. Their communications show they are detecting our arrival." Zarvek made a sound of dismissal. "Another simple world for the Empire. Send the assessment teams. If they resist, show minimal force. The Emperor wants this sector secured by the next rotation." The Craxians had done this hundreds of times before. Their empire spanned thousands of worlds across the galaxy. Some planets joined willingly. Others needed to be shown the power of the Empire before they understood their place. Earth would be no different. The smaller ship that left the main vessel descended toward the flat farmlands of Nebraska. Its engines made a strange humming sound that carried for miles in the quiet countryside. Lily Morgan heard it first. She was still in the backyard with her telescope when the sound came. It was past her bedtime, but her parents had let her stay up because of the special event. "Do you hear that?" she asked her father. The sound grew louder. Then they saw lights in the sky, getting closer and brighter. Jack grabbed his phone and called 911, but the line was busy. Everyone in town was calling at the same time. "Karen, take Lily inside," he said firmly. "But Dad, I want to see." Lily protested. The ship was massive up close, bigger than the town's water tower. It landed in Farmer Peterson's empty field just half a mile from the Morgan home. The ground shook when it touched down. All across Oakville, people came out of their homes. Some got in cars and drove toward the landing site. Others locked their doors and loaded their guns. At the edge of town, military vehicles were already setting up roadblocks. Men and women in uniform tried to keep people away from the alien ship. But Lily Morgan, who had slipped away from her mother in the confusion, was already walking through the cornfield toward the strange visitors from another world. She didn't know she would be the first human to meet the Craxian Empire. She didn't know how this meeting would change the history of Earth forever. The moon cast long shadows as Lily Morgan moved quietly through the cornfield. She could see the alien ship clearly now. It glowed with strange blue lights, and the ground around it looked burnt. Her heart beat fast. But she wasn't afraid. She was excited. At the edge of the field, Lily stopped and watched. A door had opened in the side of the ship. Tall figures moved around outside. They were setting up equipment on the ground. The Kraxian guards stood over 7 feet tall. They wore armor that seemed to glow from within. Their helmets had 4 eye holes, and they carried long weapons that hummed with energy. "Check the perimeter," ordered the lead guard in a strange clicking language. "The locals are primitive but numerous." Military drones flew silently above, filming everything. General Samuel Washington watched the live feed from a command center 20 miles away. "Keep your distance," he ordered his troops. "No engagement without direct command." The soldiers at the roadblocks held back crowds of curious people. News vans arrived with reporters talking excitedly into cameras. Police cars blocked all roads leading to the landing site. Jack and Karen Morgan were in a panic. They couldn't find Lily anywhere in the house. "She must have gone outside again," Karen said, her voice shaking. "Jack, you don't think?" Jack was already running toward the door. "Call 911 again. Tell them our daughter is near the alien ship." Back at the landing site, Commander Zarvek stepped out of the ship. He looked around at the Earth landscape with all 4 eyes. "Primitive," he said. "Set up the scanners. I want resource reports by morning." The Kraxians had strict rules about first contact. Local life forms were to be kept away until proper studies were done. Any approach was to be considered a potential threat. Lily picked a wildflower that grew at the edge of the field. She thought it would be a nice gift for the visitors. In movies, people always brought gifts when they met someone new. She stepped out of the corn, into the open area around the ship. The flower was held out in front of her. "Hello," she said simply. "Welcome to Earth." The guards spun around, their weapons raised automatically. "Threat detected," one guard shouted. Commander Zarvek turned. "Hold. It's just a small local." But the guard was following his training. The security system in his helmet identified movement, and his weapon was already active. There was a flash of bright light. A sound like thunder cracked across the field. Lily Morgan didn't feel pain. One moment she was standing with the flower in her hand. The next moment, she was gone. A small pile of ashes fell to the ground where she had stood. The wildflower landed on top of the ashes. Commander Zarvek made an angry sound. "You fool. It was no threat." The guard lowered his weapon. "Following protocol, Commander. Unidentified approach requires immediate neutralization." In the command center, General Washington watched in horror. The drone cameras had captured everything. "My God," he whispered. One of his officers was already on the phone. "Sir, facial recognition confirms. The child was Lily Morgan, age 10, resident of Oakville." Washington's face hardened. "Lock down all footage. Get me the president on the line. Now." Jack Morgan had almost reached the field when he heard the thunder-like sound. Something deep inside him knew immediately what had happened. He fell to his knees, a scream building in his throat. Within an hour, military vehicles surrounded the Morgan home. Officers in formal uniforms approached the door. Karen knew why they were there before they spoke. She collapsed against the doorframe. The news spread quickly. First across the town, then the state, then the country. By morning, the entire world knew. The aliens had killed a human child. In the White House, the president watched the footage with tears in his eyes. "They will answer for this," he said. On the Kraxian ship, Commander Zarvek prepared a report for the Empire. Under incident notes, he wrote, "Minor security response. Single local life form neutralized. No significant impact on mission." He did not understand humans. He did not understand what he had started. The Empire had faced resistance before. They had crushed rebellions on 1,000 worlds. But they had never faced Earth, and they had never killed a child named Lily Morgan. The United Nations building in New York was completely surrounded by protesters. They held pictures of Lily Morgan and signs with angry messages. Police kept them back, but more people arrived every hour. Inside, Secretary General Olivia Bennett stood before the General Assembly. Every seat was filled. The world's leaders had gathered within 24 hours of the incident. "We faced the greatest challenge in human history," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped the podium tightly. "For the first time, we know we are not alone in the universe, and for the first time, we know that the universe is not friendly." On screens around the world, billions watched, in homes and public squares, in offices and schools. Humans of every nation stopped to listen. The death of one child, Lily Morgan, has revealed the true nature of the Craxian Empire, Bennett continued. They consider us primitive. They consider our lives worthless. They killed a child who offered them a flower. The room was silent. Today we must decide if we will accept their judgment of us, if we will bow to their empire, or if we will show them who humans really are. The vote was unanimous. All 193 nations agreed. Earth would not submit. Earth would fight. At the landing site in Nebraska, Commander Zarvek was surprised when a human delegation approached under a white flag. They carried a small box. The humans wished to communicate, his translator told him. Zarvek stepped forward with 2 guards. "This is acceptable." General Washington led the human group. His face showed no emotion as he held out the box. "Your people killed a human child," Washington said. "This is her." Zarvek took the box and opened it. Inside were the ashes of Lily Morgan. "Unfortunate," Zarvek said. "The Empire will provide compensation. Advanced medical technology, perhaps. The matter is closed." Washington's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand. This matter will never be closed." He handed Zarvek a small data device. "This contains our one and only communication to your empire. You have 24 hours to leave our solar system." Zarvek made a sound like laughter. "You cannot make demands of the empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your weapons are toys to us." 24 hours, Washington repeated. Then he turned and walked away. At a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Alan Clark worked without sleep. 6 years ago, he had lost his daughter to cancer. Now he studied the alien technology with desperate focus. "The energy signature is unlike anything we've seen," he told his team. "But it follows patterns. All energy follows patterns." Military bases worldwide went to their highest alert level. Soldiers said goodbye to families. Civilian planes were grounded. Emergency supplies were distributed to city centers. In Nebraska, Jack and Karen Morgan sat in their empty house. On the table was a photo of Lily. The phone rang constantly, but they didn't answer. There was a knock at the door. Karen opened it to find General Washington. "Mrs. Morgan," he said, removing his hat, "I need to speak with you and your husband." Inside, he explained what the government needed. "Your daughter's story must be told. The world is united, but they need a face to remember. They need to know why we fight." Karen looked at Jack. His eyes were red from crying, but something else showed in them now. Determination. "What do you need us to do?" Jack asked. On the Craxian ship, Commander Zarvek watched the human data recording. It showed images of Earth's cities, its armies, its people. Then it showed Lily Morgan, smiling in a school photo. The message ended with words in the Craxian language. "She was our child. We are coming for you." Zarvek sent his report to the Empire. Humans show unusual emotional response to single casualty. Recommend small punitive fleet to demonstrate imperial power. After suitable display of force, resistance will end. The Imperial Council approved his recommendation. A fleet of 12 warships would be sent. It would be more than enough to break this primitive world's will. The Craxians did not know that Earth was already changing. Deep in labs and factories, humans worked day and night. Old enemies shared secrets. New alliances formed. For the first time in history, Humanity stood as one, and humanity was angry. 6 months passed. The world changed in ways no one could have imagined before the aliens came. In every country, factories worked day and night. Old car plants now made parts for spaceships. Computer companies built targeting systems. Toy makers produced training simulators. Everyone had a job in the new war economy. Dr. Alan Clark stood in a massive underground lab in Colorado. Around him, hundreds of scientists worked on pieces of the alien ship that had landed in Nebraska. The Craxians had left Earth as demanded, but they had abandoned their damaged scout ship. "Show me the test results," Clark said to his assistant. The young woman handed him a tablet. "It worked, Dr. Clark. The frequency disrupts their shield harmonics by 78%. Clark nodded, his tired eyes showing a spark of hope. "Not good enough. We need 100%. Keep working." In a military base in Arizona, Jack Morgan climbed out of a training simulator. Sweat covered his face. At 42, he was much older than the other recruits, but no one questioned his right to be there. Everyone knew his story. "You're improving, Morgan," the instructor said, "but you're still taking too many risks." Jack took a drink of water. "I'm not planning to come back from this mission." "Sir," the instructor frowned. "That's not the point. If you die too quickly, you won't complete your objective." Jack nodded. "Understood. I'll do better tomorrow." Across the world, new weapons took shape. Scientists had studied the alien technology and found ways to adapt human systems. Lasers were modified to match Craxian shield frequencies. Computer viruses were designed to attack alien systems. In orbit, the first human space warships were assembled. They were small compared to Craxian vessels, but they were built with one purpose: to deliver weapons directly to enemy ships. Karen Morgan traveled across the country, speaking to crowds and appearing on television. Her grief had transformed into a powerful voice that moved people to work harder, to give more. "They took my daughter," she told a crowd in Chicago. "They thought we would be afraid. They were wrong. They should be afraid of us." People cheered. Lily's picture was everywhere, on billboards, on the sides of buses, on stamps and coins. Her smile had become the symbol of humanity's determination. In space, near the edge of the solar system, hidden sensors detected movement. The Craxian fleet had arrived. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of Earth's first space carrier, the Defiance. Through the viewscreen, he watched his small fleet of 30 ships prepare for battle. "Status report," he ordered. His officer replied, "All ships in position, Admiral. Weapons at 100%. Moon base is fully operational." Hayes nodded. "Is the special cargo loaded?" "Yes, sir. Volunteer teams are on standby." He looked at a photo pinned to his console. It showed Lily Morgan. Next to it was a picture of his own granddaughter, about the same age. "Send the message to all ships," Hayes said. "Remember why we fight." On the lead Craxian warship, Commander Zarvek reviewed the scanned data of Earth. "They have built primitive space vessels," he told his officers, "and their planet shows increased energy output. They have been preparing." The junior officer asked, "Should we be concerned, Commander?" Zarvek made a dismissive gesture. "They have had only 6 months. The Empire has had 10,000 years to perfect our technology. Their resistance will make a suitable example for other worlds in this sector." The Imperial fleet moved closer to Earth, expecting no real challenge. Their sensors detected no human ships, as Earth's fleet hid behind the moon and among the asteroids. Dr. Clark worked through the night, making final adjustments to his invention. The quantum disruptor was small enough to fit in a backpack, but powerful enough to disable an entire Craxian ship, if it worked. "Final test," he said, activating the device. The captured Craxian equipment in the lab shut down instantly. Clark smiled for the first time in months. "It works. Tell Admiral Hayes we're ready." Across Earth, people gathered in homes and public places. The government had announced that the alien fleet had returned. Many prayed. Some cried, but no one panicked. Humanity had changed. The death of one child had united them like nothing before. They were ready for what would come next. In space, Admiral Hayes gave the order. All ships, prepare for combat operations. The Empire killed a human child. Now they face our fury. The Craxian fleet moved slowly toward Earth. 12 massive warships, each the size of a small city, arranged in perfect formation. They passed Mars without stopping. Their sensors showed no threats, no resistance. Commander Zarvek stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Imperial Fist. He looked at the blue planet on the view screen. "Target the human moon base," he ordered. "We will destroy it as a demonstration. Then they will understand the futility of resistance." The weapons officer began targeting procedures. "Ready in 3 minutes, Commander." Zarvek nodded. "Send a message to their leaders. Tell them to watch the sky. Tell them this is the power of the Empire." Behind Earth's moon, Admiral Hayes received the transmission. He smiled grimly. "They're exactly where we want them," he said. "All ships prepare to execute Operation Lively." 30 Earth ships powered up their engines. They were smaller than the Craxian warships, but they were built with one purpose: to deliver Dr. Clark's weapons directly to the enemy. "First wave, launch now," Hayes ordered. 10 ships moved from behind the moon. Each carried 100 human pilots in small fighter craft. These fighters had been built using technology reverse-engineered from the abandoned Craxian scout ship. On the Imperial Fist, an alarm sounded. "Commander," the sensor officer called. "Human vessels detected." Zarvek turned, surprised. "Where? How many?" 10 ships emerging from behind their moon. Small vessels launching from them. Zarvek relaxed. A pitiful attempt. Destroy them. The Craxian fleet turned their weapons toward the approaching Earth ships. But before they could fire, another alarm sounded. More ships. 20 vessels emerging from the asteroid belt. Earth had hidden its main fleet among the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter. Now they approached from behind a Craxian fleet. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiance. "All ships, fire electromagnetic pulse weapons as planned." The Earth ships fired in unison. Strange blue waves of energy washed over the Craxian vessels. On the Imperial Fist, systems began to fail. Shields dropping to 40%. The Craxian officer shouted, "How is this possible?" Zarvek gripped his command chair. This was not supposed to happen. These humans were primitive. They couldn't have technology to affect Craxian shields. But Dr. Clark had found the weakness. The specific frequency that disrupted Craxian shield harmonics. 6 months of research had paid off. Hayes spoke to the fleet. "Phase 2. Kamikaze teams, you are cleared to engage." From each Earth ship, small fighters launched toward the Craxian vessels. Each fighter carried a single pilot and a powerful bomb designed to penetrate the weakened Craxian shields. Jack Morgan sat in one of these fighters. On his console was a picture of Lily. His hands were steady as he aimed toward the largest Craxian ship. "This is for you, sweetheart," he whispered. The first wave of fighters hit the Craxian ships. Explosions bloomed across their hulls. More fighters followed, targeting the same damaged areas. On Earth, people watched the battle through telescopes and live video from space cameras. They held their breath as the small human ships attacked the giant alien vessels. Karen Morgan stood in the military command center, watching her husband's fighter on a tracking screen. Tears ran down her face, but she didn't look away. The Imperial Fist shook with multiple explosions. Zarvek shouted orders, but his crew couldn't respond fast enough. The humans were attacking in ways the Craxians had never seen before. They were sacrificing themselves deliberately, crashing their ships directly into Craxian weak points. Jack Morgan's fighter approached the command deck of the Imperial Fist. His targeting computer locked on. He pushed his ship to maximum speed. "Forgive me, Karen," he said. "I'll see Lily soon." His fighter slammed into the Craxian ship, piercing through the weakened shields. The explosion tore open the command deck. 3 weeks passed. On Earth, people celebrated their victory. Statues were built to honor the pilots who had sacrificed themselves. Jack Morgan's name was carved on monuments in every major city. But in military command centers, leaders watched their long-range sensors with worry. They knew what was coming. On the distant planet Craxus Prime, the Emperor himself called an emergency meeting. He was tall even for a Craxian, with skin so pale it was almost white. Gold symbols covered his ceremonial armor. "This has never happened before," he said, his voice cold with anger. "A primitive world has destroyed Imperial warships." The military commander bowed low. "The humans used unexpected tactics, Emperor. They sacrificed their pilots deliberately." "Unacceptable," the Emperor shouted. "Gather the main battle fleet. This world will be an example to the galaxy." Within days, the largest Craxian fleet ever assembled began its journey to Earth. 200 warships, carrying millions of soldiers and enough firepower to reduce a planet to ash. On Earth, Admiral Hayes met with world leaders. His face was grim. "Our sensors have detected them," he said. "The Craxian main fleet. They will reach us in 2 days." President Lewis of the United States asked, "Can we stop them?" Hayes shook his head. "Not with our current forces. We hurt them, but they're coming back much stronger." In the underground laboratory, Dr. Clark worked without rest. He had found something in the Craxian communication systems, a pattern in their quantum network that connected all their ships. "If we can disrupt this," he told his team, "we might have a chance." Karen Morgan had moved to the secure military base after Jack's death. She now worked with the emergency government, planning for what might be humanity's last days. "We need to get as many people to the underground shelters as possible," she told the committee. "And we need to send ships away from Earth. Colony ships with our best technology, our history, our DNA." The committee agreed. Humanity would survive, even if Earth did not. The Craxian fleet arrived exactly when predicted. This time, there was no attempt at hiding. The Earth fleet met them head-on, knowing it was likely a suicide mission. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiance. "All ships, engage as planned. Buy Earth as much time as you can." The battle was brutal and quick. Earth's ships fought bravely, but they were vastly outnumbered. For every Craxian vessel they damaged, 5 more took its place. Within hours, half of Earth's fleet was destroyed. The Defiance itself was badly damaged, its engines failing. The Craxian fleet pushed forward. Entering Earth's atmosphere, they targeted major cities first. New York, Tokyo, London, Beijing, all were hit with powerful energy weapons that turned buildings to dust. Millions died in the first wave of attacks. The underground shelters saved many, but not enough. In the White House Situation Room, President Lewis received the casualty reports with tears in his eyes. "My God," he whispered, "is this the end?" But deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Clark had completed his device. The quantum disruptor was ready. "It's our last chance," he told Karen Morgan, who had been assigned to the secret facility. "But we need to get it to their command ship." Karen looked at the small device. "How?" "Admiral Hayes has volunteered. A small team will take our last stealth ship. They'll infiltrate the command vessel while most of the fleet is busy attacking Earth." Karen nodded. "Will it work?" "It has to," Clark said simply. As cities burned and Earth's military forces were overwhelmed, a single small ship slipped away from the planet. It carried Admiral Hayes, Dr. Clark's device, and Earth's last hope. The Craxian Emperor watched the destruction from his command ship. "Impressive resistance," he said to his officers, "but futile. By tomorrow, this world will be ours." He did not notice the small ship approaching from below, using the chaos of battle as cover. Hayes and his team of 6 Special Forces soldiers reached the giant Imperial vessel. Using cutting tools based on Craxian technology, they breached the outer hull. "Remember," Hayes told his team as they entered the ship, "we only get one chance." On Earth, Karen Morgan watched the night sky glow red with fires. She held a photo of Jack and Lily close to her heart. "Please," she whispered, "let this work." Admiral Hayes and his team moved silently through the Craxian command ship. They wore armor made from Craxian materials, stolen from the scout ship months ago. It helped them avoid detection as they headed toward the central command hub. "Timer check," Hayes whispered. 15 minutes until the device is ready," replied Lieutenant Kim, who carried Dr. Clark's quantum disruptor in a special pack. On Earth, more cities burned. People huddled in underground shelters, listening to the sounds of destruction above. But across the galaxy, something unexpected was happening. The Craxian Empire controlled thousands of worlds. On each planet, other species lived under imperial rule. For centuries, they had obeyed out of fear, but now something had changed. The story of Lily Morgan had spread. At first, just a rumor among trading ships. Then, a symbol passed in secret, a human child who offered a flower, killed without mercy. And then, the impossible. Humans had fought back and won the first battle. On a planet called Nix 4, a resistance leader named Kelthera gathered her followers. She was a Craxian herself, but opposed the Empire's cruel expansion. "The humans have shown us it can be done," she told the crowd. "If a primitive world can damage the Imperial fleet, imagine what all of us together can do." Similar meetings happened across hundreds of worlds. The Craxian communication network, once used to control their empire, now carried whispers of rebellion. Back on the Imperial command ship, Hayes' team reached the main computer core. 2 guards stood at the entrance. "Now," Hayes ordered. His soldiers moved with perfect precision. Silent weapons took down the guards before they could sound an alarm. Lieutenant Kim connected Dr. Clark's device to the main computer system. 5 minutes to activation," she said. Suddenly, alarms blared. "We've been detected," Hayes shouted. Down the corridor, dozens of Craxian soldiers appeared, weapons ready. "Hold them off," Hayes ordered. "The device must activate." His team took defensive positions, firing at the approaching Craxians. One by one, Hayes watched his soldiers fall. Lieutenant Kim worked frantically on the device. 2 minutes, she called. Hayes fired his weapon until it overheated. The Craxians kept coming. A shot hit him in the shoulder, knocking him down. "Admiral," Kim shouted. She was the only one still standing. "Finish it," Hayes said through clenched teeth. Kim nodded and turned back to the device. A shot hit her in the back, but she remained standing. Her fingers moved across the controls. "For Lily," she whispered, and pressed the final button. The device activated with a high-pitched sound. Instantly, every system on the command ship shut down. Lights failed. Weapons went dead. The artificial gravity disappeared. But it did more than that. The quantum disruptor sent a signal through the Craxian network, spreading to every Imperial ship and facility in the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, Craxian systems failed simultaneously. Ships lost power. Defense systems shut down. And the Emperor, floating helplessly in his command room due to the lack of gravity, watched in horror as his holographic displays showed his entire empire going dark. On Earth, the Craxian attack suddenly stopped. Their ships hung motionless in the sky. Karen Morgan watched from a mountain bunker as the alien weapons fell silent. Nobody understood what was happening. Then, a message appeared on all communication systems. It showed a female Craxian, Kelthera. "People of Earth," she said, speaking in perfect English. "I am Kelthera of the Craxian Reform Movement. We have been watching. We have seen your courage. The Empire has fallen, and we wish to make peace." The message played across Earth and thousands of other worlds. It explained how the Empire had ruled through fear for centuries, how the death of a human child had become a symbol of resistance, and how Dr. Clark's device had given all oppressed people their chance for freedom. 3 months later, Karen Morgan stood in a new building called the Galactic Peace Center. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered there. At the center of the main hall stood a statue of Lily Morgan, holding out a flower. The Craxian Emperor and his loyal commanders had been removed from power. Kelfera led a new Craxian government that sought cooperation rather than conquest. Admiral Hayes, who had survived despite severe injuries, stood beside Karen as she addressed the delegates. "My daughter offered friendship," she said. "That offer still stands. But the galaxy now knows what happens when humans are pushed too far. We are not primitive. We are not weak. We protect our children, and we never give up." The delegates applauded. A new era had begun. The galaxy would remember how the death of one human child had brought down an empire and united the stars.